check out our streaming schedule for this week. We've got tons of content in terms of the NFL and college football, as we're going live just about every single day this week. So make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single moment where we go live. And now, on with our feature presentation.
January 13, 2025. It's the wild card round of the playoffs, and we find ourselves at State Farm Stadium for this playoff game between the Los Angeles Rams and the Minnesota Vikings, in what is, in essence, the first ever neutral site non-championship playoff game in NFL history. Due to the wildfires in Los Angeles, the game got moved from LA to Arizona, meaning that State Farm Stadium is hosting this one and giving their hospitality to the Rams. I did a video about my experience at this game, seeing as I was there, so if you want to learn more about that and what it was like, click the card in the upper right corner. However, the stakes for this one are simple. It's the same as any other playoff game. Win, and you go on to the divisional round and get to play the Philadelphia Eagles in the next round. Lose, and your season is over. This is an elimination game. This is a do-or-die game. And I'm not sure that one team in particular got the memo. But before I talk about that memo, if you want to learn more about NFL history, and this game behind me right here was NFL history, seeing as it was played at a neutral site, then this is the place for you, because we talk about all things NFL history with a new video and a new live stream every single day. So if you like that sort of stuff, then be sure to hit that like button down below, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we post on the channel. Thanks in advance for your support as we try and hit 70,000 subscribers. And so far, I think it's safe to say that this game could be going better for the Vikings, as 3 quarters in, the Vikings were trailing 27-9, doing next to nothing offensively, and with Sam Darnold picking the worst possible time to go from potential comeback player of the year to a pumpkin seeing ghosts. It was a rough one. You're running out of time, and at this point, you need to score on every single possession from this point on. And on 3rd and 8, after Darnold takes a sack to get the Vikings out of field goal range, that's definitely not going to help. Now you're faced with 4th and long, but you've got no other options. You've got to go for it. Punt the ball away, and the game is over. You won't have enough time to get 3 possessions and do your thing. It's not ideal, but it's not impossible, and it's your only option. So, on 4th and 20, the Vikings proceed to, well... So, they're at midfield, down by 3 scores. I don't think they're going to get 3 more possessions. All for a net of 30. Down by 3 scores. 4 minutes left. And you're punting. I know it's 4th and long, but you're punting.
Well done, the dumb decisions.
Before I break down what happened here, this whole series is about taking an in-depth look at decisions made during games that were clearly awful from the start. This isn't something to look bad in hindsight. Rather, this is something to look awful almost immediately. These are moves where a gut instinct tells you right away that there is no way this can possibly work. And sure enough, your gut instinct was smarter than that of an NFL head coach. And for this one, we're taking a look at the mind of Minnesota Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell. I don't think anyone can deny the fact that O'Connell is a good head coach, and he is one of the favorites to win AP Coach of the Year for a reason. The Minnesota Vikings were expected to be awful. If you told me at the start of the year that I'd be doing an episode of Dumb Decisions on the Vikings in a playoff game, I would have wondered if there was some college team named the Vikings that I was blanking on. This was a team projected to be last in the NFC after losing quarterback J.J. McCarthy, after having one of their draft picks literally die, and after overcoming a ton of adversity. This was a team that was not even the slightest bit projected to win 14 games and to be competing for the division title right up until the end. Having said that, holy crap, O'Connell coached an abysmal game, like a really abysmal game, to the point where if the playoffs counted for Coach of the Year voting, this should be enough to disqualify him. And of the many poor things that he did during this game, And of the many poor decisions that he made on the sideline, this was, by far, the worst. This was the one that all but ended the game and gave the Rams the guaranteed win via unforced error. So with that being said, let's take a look at why punting the ball at midfield down by 3 scores with 12 minutes left is a really bad idea. Football is a game of possessions. You win the game by scoring more points than your opponent, and you score more points when you have the ball and when you have possession of it. And seeing as you're down 27-9, meaning that you're down 18 points, and seeing as the maximum number of points you can score in any given possession is 8, you are down by 3 scores. Already, time is not on your side. It is very tough to not only score on 3 straight possessions, but score on 3 straight possessions in a 12-minute stretch, especially when you haven't exactly got a whole lot of chunk plays on the day. But you know what's even tougher than scoring on 3 possessions in 12 minutes? That's right, scoring on 3 possessions in even less time than that. This was your 8th possession of the game, excluding the 1-play kneel down with no time left in the first half. You had 2 in the first quarter, 3 in the second quarter, 2 in the third quarter, and 1 here in the fourth, with the 3 in the second quarter being because you turned the ball over and the Rams picked up a Sam Darnold fumble and returned it for a touchdown, giving you the ball right back. If you actually held onto the ball, or if the Rams didn't score a touchdown, you would likely only have 2 possessions that quarter. So let me ask you this. Knowing all of that, and knowing that you're averaging 2 possessions per quarter, how on earth are you possibly going to get 3 more possessions with 12 minutes left while giving the ball back to the other team? Riddle me that. The math isn't mathing. You're telling me that for getting 8 possessions in the first 50 minutes of the game, assuming you play perfect defense on the Rams' ensuing drive and force a 3 and out, which is unlikely seeing as your defense was getting sliced and diced the entire game and had allowed more drives of 50-plus yards than 3 and outs by this point, they are going to get 3 possessions? At that point, you're relying on forcing turnovers when the Rams aren't throwing the ball, an onside kick recovery, or heck, even multiple onside kick recoveries. In other words, good freaking luck. At that point, you have next to no chance at coming back. I know that 4th and 20 at midfield is tough to convert. Believe me, no one is saying that it's easy, especially when Sam Darnold has played like crap all day. No one is saying that the odds are on your side, not just with that play, but with being down 27-9 in the first place. No one's delusional. However, it's not impossible to convert. You got a 26-yard passing play on the last drive. You could always draw a defensive holding or a pass interference penalty or something along those lines that gives you an automatic first down. In other words, your odds of converting aren't 0. It's worth a shot. And seeing as you're at midfield, if you do convert the first down, you're going to be in field goal range, meaning that unless you turn the ball over, at minimum, you're going to be in a spot to cut it to a 2-score game without needing to get any more yardage after that play. Convert the play, and with roughly 11 minutes to go, barring something stupid, you'll find yourself down by 2 scores. Obviously, it's not great, but it at least gives you a fighting chance at coming back and winning this game and keeping your season alive. But to punt the ball away? To punt it away there? Let's weigh the scenarios with that. The best case scenario, with the absolute best punt in the world, is that you're down by 3 scores and you can't touch the ball again until 10 minutes left of the very best. The worst case scenario is that you're down by 3 scores and you can't touch the ball again until 10 minutes left of the very best. Going for it? The worst case scenario is that if you fail on the conversion, you're down by 3 scores and you can't touch the ball again until 10 minutes left of the very best. The best case scenario is that you have the ball and can cut it to a 2-score game. I know it sounds simplistic when you break it down like that, but it's true. The field position is irrelevant. Where the Rams start the drive is irrelevant. Whether they started at midfield if you fail the conversion, or the one if you punt it away and pin them is irrelevant, because you need to get scores. If this was a 1-score game, by all means, punt the ball away. Heck, in a 2-score game, punt the ball away. You'll have time to get more possessions. But 3 scores? You don't have enough time to get the requisite possessions if you give it away. You have run out of breathing room. You have run out of opportunities to, in essence, choose and be selective about what you want to do. Punting the ball is waving the white flag. And waving the white flag is something that, within reason, you should never do in a playoff game. Obviously, down by 49 points with a minute left, and the other team taking a knee, but you have all your timeouts, and you don't call any of them, wave the white flag there. Like I said, within reason. But down by 3 scores at midfield, at the start of the fourth quarter, that is not even close to waving the white flag territory. Not at all, not with your season on the line.
And look, in a 2-score game, I completely get it. 2 scores, 4th and 21, I completely get punting the ball. But at midfield, 3-score game, you're not getting the ball back 3 more times. You're not getting 3 more quality possessions. Think about what the Rams, if they kill all the time but go 3 and out, if you play perfect defense, barring a turnover, you play perfect defense, Rams killing 2 minutes on each drive, so you punted the ball with 12 minutes left, Rams are taking 6 minutes off the clock minimum on those 3 drives. You have to go 3 scores in 6 minutes if you play perfect defense. And based on the way the Vikings have looked today offensively, do you trust them to get 3 scores in 6 minutes? I don't know how you do. Yeah.
I don't know what KOC was thinking on that one.
Better yet, did Kevin O'Connell even realize that this was a playoff game? Honestly, did this man right here that been watching this whole time even realize that he was coaching in an elimination game? Because there was a disturbing lack of urgency shown by O'Connell throughout that entire fourth quarter. It wasn't just the punt on 4th down in midfield, even though that was the most egregious. When the Vikings eventually got the ball back, which, spoiler alert, they only got the ball back 2 more times all game, so even if the Vikings scored a touchdown on both those possessions, they wouldn't have had enough possessions to complete the comeback, which is exactly what everyone with the brain was thinking when they punted it away. They ran so much time off the clock. They were taking the play clock down. They were calling multiple runs. There was one particular sequence where they called the play with 6:42 left, then they called their next play with 6:15 left, and then they called their next play with 5:35 left. They got 2 plays off in 70 seconds, down by 3 scores in a playoff game. It was like the first quarter of a preseason game. There was no urgency or desire to do anything. It was actually kind of appalling how little effort the Vikings put into trying to come back in this game, and how little effort Kevin O'Connell was giving with the game not even close to being over. There are times to wave the white flag, and the fourth quarter of a playoff game is not even close to one of them. Yet, Kevin O'Connell, through his punt and abysmal clock management that he must have learned from Matt LaFleur on Sunday, did just that. Obviously, no one is suggesting that if the Vikings show some urgency or go for it on 4th down, that they win the game. But at least their odds aren't quite literally 0.0%. And what's crazy about the game between these 2 teams behind me right here is that it's not as though Kevin O'Connell has no experience coming back from large deficits. Heck, we saw 2 seasons ago that he literally led the biggest comeback in NFL history when his Minnesota Vikings were trailing 33-0 against the Indianapolis Colts. Somehow, the Vikings were able to come back. O'Connell is no stranger to comebacks, so I don't know why he decided here, with 12 minutes left in a 3-score game at midfield, to punt the ball away, knowing that he wouldn't get another possession, or I should say, another 3 possessions, in order to come back after that. No one asked him about it in the post-game press conference, so we won't know the answer, but it is bizarre when you think about it. So what did we learn from all this? If you're trailing by 3 scores midway through the fourth quarter in a playoff game, then you cannot afford to punt the ball, especially if you are at midfield. The field position is irrelevant. You need to get the ball back and score points and take advantage of possessions. If, by giving the ball away, you are guaranteeing the fact that you won't have enough possessions available at your disposal to come back, then you shouldn't give the ball away. If you have 2 options, and the worst case scenario in both is the same in terms of your chances of coming back, but the best case scenario in one can increase your odds of scoring and coming back, and the best case scenario in the other cannot do that, and it's the exact same as the worst case scenario, then you should take the first option. Take the freaking first option. And if you're waving the white flag in the fourth quarter of a playoff game, or you're just completely oblivious as to the situation in a playoff game, then you need to seriously reevaluate how you coach and manage a game. Because there is no excuse for this whatsoever. There just isn't. Heck of a coach, heck of a season, but there's no excuse at all. Because when all these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this play backfires. Talk about a dumb decision.
Be sure to like and subscribe if you have not done so already, as it helps the channel out a lot. And check out my other channels, JG8 for the history of college football, JG7 for the history of baseball, and JG9 News, where we talk about all things happening in the NFL. Join me every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we'll play live NFL trivia for cash prizes. And make sure to join me live, as we're on stream just about every single day. And thanks to all our Patreon members and our YouTube members for helping out the channel. See how you become a member and show your support financially in the description down below.